Hello and welcome to Inside Edition to discuss national, regional and international issues in depth. The Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, are a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity. These 17 goals build on the successes of the Millennium Development Goals, the MDGs, while including new areas such as climate change, economic inequality, innovation, sustainable consumption, peace and justice, among other priorities. The Kingdom of Bahrain has taken several steps to adopt the SDGs after building on its experience and expertise in achieving the MDGs ahead of a schedule in 2015. One of these steps is the recent opening of the first of its kind Bahrain Science Center for Sustainable Development Goals. We will be discussing this matter with Sheikh Amnira bint Mohammed Al Khalifa, the Director of Youth Activities in the Ministry of Youth and Sports Affairs. But first, let's take a look at how the SDGs can be taken from paper to planning to practice.
Around the world, a complex orchestra of partnerships, know-how, and policy making is well underway to realize the promise of the 2030 Agenda, its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and the commitment to leave no one behind. The 2030 Agenda is a composition of intertwined social, economic, and environmental goals and targets that requires a new way of thinking about development. That is why the United Nations development agencies have come together to create MAPS, a common agile approach to development that stands for mainstreaming, acceleration, and policy support to help countries move the SDGs from paper to practice. This is how it works. Country X is trying to turn the extraordinary goals into realities on the ground. This is where mainstreaming comes in. It's about making the 17 goals a part of people's lives by including them in national and local policies, action plans, and budgets. About raising public awareness and engaging with civil society, businesses, and the media, establishing practices for monitoring and reporting, securing financing for the agenda, and assessing risk. Country X knows that an integrated agenda means that it cannot work with one goal at a time. It needs to find key entry points to make progress across several SDGs. What would work in this specific context? Using analytical tools, we can identify accelerators, such as action to support women and girls empowerment that will also boost local economies, enable safer childbirth, and build more inclusive communities. The UN can also provide policy support that reaches across all aspects of development, education, jobs, local governance, healthcare, biodiversity, and clean energy to support SDG implementation. The UN will help countries achieve the SDGs for everyone, everywhere. Visit undg.org/2030-agenda to learn more about MAPS.
Joining us in the studio is Sheikh Amnira. Thank you very much for being with us today and answering some of the questions we have. Sheikh, first of all, the first of its kind science center is being done in honor or basically representing these 17 development goals. What can you tell us? How did the idea initiate?
Firstly, I wanted to thank you for having me here today. To talk about the Science Center, honestly, it was a project that was handed over to the Ministry of Youth and Sports Affairs in October 2016. Since then, we did a lot of studies as to, we studied a lot of different science centers around the world and wanted to do something and wanted to bring something different to Bahrain. We wanted something that would actually speak to the youth, something that Bahrain really cares about and wants to showcase it to the world. So an idea came up to us, and then we thought, why not have a Bahrain Science Center that tackles the SDGs? And today the SDGs is a hot topic. It's one of the things that Bahrain as a country has obliged to be handling, so we'd like to be part of that as well. So that's pretty much the idea came about, to bring in change and that's what we want to do.
Yes. Now, as you said, the SDGs are a hot topic, especially when the whole world is basically, or most of the countries of the world are committing to them. But in your center, it aims at promoting the implementation of these 17 sustainability goals. They promote them in the mind of the youth, and this will also integrate them in their families and basically spread a kind of awareness. So what can you tell us about these goals?
As you know about this UN-led initiative, it started around 2015, if I'm not mistaken, September 25th of the year 2015, of which when all the UN member states, the 193 countries agreed to have these 2030 agenda, or basically the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, as the Ministry of Youth and Sports Affairs, we cannot tackle every single issue. So we are going to start with the youth and mainly raise awareness. And I think that's exactly what we're trying to do with the center here, is raise awareness from a young age, saying, come to the center. We'd like to inform you what these SDGs are, how you can help, you can be part of it, and then hopefully have it like a pass it forward kind of situation, of which when we start tackling and speaking to this young individual, then the individual will take it on to his friends, family, and have that network kind of expedite, hopefully.
Network being the key word here. Are you going to have some kind of cooperations with the schools or universities around Bahrain?
Absolutely. I mean, this is not a single ministry proposal. This is an initiative, I like to call it a national initiative, actually. We'd like to have as many entities as possible, whether it be schools, universities, even government agencies and NGOs take part of this science center and take full advantage of it, honestly. This is the entire aim of the center, and we hope that we'll be able to reach that.
Marvelous. The Bahrain Science Center has recently introduced a number of programs that targets different age groups. What are these programs?
We ran our first summer program just a few weeks ago, and we just wanted to touch, just make sure that the kids kind of come in, at least not only get to see the center, but also spend a few hours at the center. And so we introduced 4 different programs for the kids and the youth. Yeah. So we had 2 different programs that tackled that was basically for the 9 to 14-year-olds, which was The World We Want and the World of Science. Yeah. The 2 different programs were for the 15 to 29-year-olds, and it was the Youth Leadership Program and the Goals for Change. So these 2 different programs tackled different issues of the SDGs. Some of them talked about climate action, life on land, life below water. Others others tackled zero hunger, no poverty, and quality education. So we tried to, have a mix and match of different SDGs and get the kids and the youth more familiar with these goals.
Yes. Now, the center is new, basically, and I'm sure, like at the beginning, you're not going to go full blast with all of the 17 sustainability goals. Sure. Do you have like a priority on what goals are going to be showcased first?
Definitely. I mean, because we are entitled to cover all 17 goals, we'd like to do them systematically in a way that, firstly, we'd like to focus on quality education, and that's precisely why the center is there initially, is to showcase quality education, and through that we're going to have many different programs, many different activities throughout the entire year to promote these goals. And hopefully, once we start also speaking to different government agencies, start introducing the goals that Bahrain is really interested in, whether it's climate action or, partnerships of the goals. So we're taking it one step at a time, and hopefully we'll get to reach all of them.
Inshallah. The center is equipped with environment-friendly elements. How does such a design contribute to the efforts of achieving sustainable development goals?
If you've seen the design of the center, we have a wind turbine, so that kind of speaks in terms of the wind energy. Yeah. We've got solar panels throughout the design and look and feel of the building itself for the sun, basically. So we've got solar panels. The building of itself is the first government building in the kingdom that has this kind of ability, and it feeds off its energy into the government energy network. So we have a lot of different things that we're looking into as well. This is just the start. As I said, we'd like to take it as a trial and error. We'd like to test it out as well, and hopefully we'll get to introduce more things hopefully in the coming future.
It's really important at this point to also say Bahrain isn't new to the renewable energy concept. We've had wind turbines on some of the buildings here.
Absolutely.
Solar power company that provides solar panels in Bahrain and made in Bahrain itself. Can you tell us, does the fact that this has been in Bahrain for a while contribute to making the youth aware that this is a problem in the whole world, but Bahrain has been tackling it for a while now?
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, what we wanted to do is as soon as you approach the building, you'll start to understand that the building itself is trying to tackle these issues. Climate action today is not a local issue. It's not something that only Bahrain is affected with.
Yes.
It's a global issue. It's a global phenomenon. As much as we can do to raise awareness about these issues with the youth, is something that would like to do, and it's something that we take as a burden on ourselves and as a ministry as a whole. To try and get youth to be more proactive about these issues and hopefully be able to put these, we're going to talk about the problems, but we would like them to be part of the solution. So we want them to be the decision makers, hopefully, in coming up with solutions to tackle these global issues.
Marvelous. The Kingdom of Bahrain has adopted several initiatives to empower and encourage youth to be effective partners in the development of their country and achieve its prosperity. The vision of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa laid the foundations for the progress of youth in the National March. More in this report.
In line with His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa's firm belief in youth empowerment, and in particular in supporting the development of a new cadre of young Arab leaders, the Kingdom has adopted a number of initiatives to ensure that Bahrain's young people have the skills, expertise, and opportunities to achieve their aspirations.
قناعتنا الراسخة بأهمية الدور الذي يجب أن يتولاه الشباب في صياغة مستقبلهم وإشراكهم في برامج التنمية والتطوير لاستيعاب تطلعاتهم وإعدادهم الإعداد السليم لأداء واجباتهم اتجاه أوطانهم بشكل مسؤول وبما يمكنهم من وضع أسس وملامح ذلك المستقبل المشرق.
His Majesty's vision acknowledges that youth are central components of global development, and this fundamental belief has resulted in integrated strategies in investing in the future of young people, placing youth at the heart of the Kingdom's development priorities.
وأننا نتطلع من شبابنا أن يكون لهم دورا وإسهامات عالمية لتحقيق السلام والتعايش والتنمية المستدامة. وقد أطلقنا هذا العام جائزة الملك حمد لتمكين الشباب لتحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة.
The Kingdom of Bahrain's long-standing commitment to implementing His Majesty's vision for youth empowerment is enshrined in a series of international partnerships which have been built on the belief that, as in Bahrain, young people can lead their countries and the world towards a better future. No matter how challenging the journey of development will be, nothing stands in the way of the determination of aspiring young people. Indeed, the more steps they take towards confronting those challenges, the closer they are to realizing their ambitions. Raising their nation's flag high in the clouds, tomorrow is for them. The future is them.
أيها الأبناء الأعزاء، إنكم عماد المستقبل وأمله والأساس الذي ينطلق منه الوطن لعلو بنيانه ومنطلقا لمستقبل أجياله.
Before we went to the report, you talked about the role the Ministry of Youth and Sports is having in this whole thing. And during the process of promoting the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals, the Ministry of Youth and Sports actually dealt with several institutions. How do you value this cooperation? How does it contribute positively to achieving the aspired goals for the Science Center and also in the future the Sustainable Development Goals?
We work mostly with, if we're tackling that issue, that's Goal 17, which is basically partnerships of the goals. So what we're doing at the Ministry of Youth and Sports Affairs, especially with the Science Center today, we'd like to get as much partners, stakeholders, to help enable the center itself so that it takes its full form. As a ministry, we're not able to do everything by ourselves. As much help and assistance we get from government agencies, from NGOs, whether they're local or global, would definitely help us in reaching the vision that we have for the center. So partnerships of the goals, definitely. We put it up in our list of things that we'd like to do. We'd like to get more partners, hopefully, in. We currently have a lot of partners, like Temkeen has been a big part of what we do, and they've been, supporters of what we've been doing since the start. And today we're looking at having even more partners, hopefully, with the different government agencies and hopefully even like UN agencies to take part in the Science Center.
Yes. Sheikh Munira, is there like a contact that people that basically watch the show and want to be part of this and want to have more information where they can contact you on a website or something like that?
We are currently working on our website, but definitely there's the number for the Science Center itself. Yeah. If they go on Instagram, there's direct contact lines of how they can get in contact with the center, whether they'd like to visit or just look at our recent videos and programs that we've been running, so they can look through the Bahrain Science Center Instagram.
Perfect. The registration closes in October for youth to apply for the King Hamad Youth Empowerment Award to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, which is the first of its kind on a global level, not even a regional one. What are the main objectives and categories of the award, and how do you value the local and international interest in applying to it?
Firstly, we are thrilled and excited that we are coming to the end of the second edition of the King Hamad Youth Empowerment Award to achieve the SDGs. This award last year has been fantastic, the way it ran in its first edition, and we're looking to have more participants hopefully this year. This year we'd like, it's almost the same as it was last year, but we wanted to change the pool of participants as well. So it's mainly focused to public sectors, private sectors, government sectors, and youth themselves. So we'd like the youth to take part in the award itself and send in their participations and take part of this whole global initiative by Bahrain. So we are excited to be coming in the last 60 days, I'd say, of the award, and we'd like to see the number of participations. So far, I hear really good news. I mean, I'm not going to disclose any right now, but hopefully you'll hear about it very soon in the newspapers and all media accounts. But yeah, it's mainly for these four different. We'd like to get as much as possible, whether they're youth or enablers of youth to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, to participate in the award both locally and globally.
Are there any participations that you find have been different or have been the center point of the award itself, without specifying, but basically the energy and the encouragement behind these projects?
We're quite excited, as I had mentioned. Today, of the numbers that I see in the reports that come to us with the follow-ups of how many participants we've had, how many countries we have this year participating, is really something that makes us very proud. So hopefully, as soon as we get more information about that, and once we close the deadline, then we'd be able to disclose more information.
Inshallah. How can international outreach activities and effective cooperation with the regional and global youth institutions contribute to achieving the ministry's aims at promoting the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals?
As I had mentioned, we're not able to do this by ourselves. We can only focus on a certain sector. But once we have agencies that are able to speak to many different sectors, help in even helping in our programs, or whether there are many different kinds of supports that we will need. So whether they can support us logistically, or they can help us support us financially, whatever it may be, these kinds of cooperations and I'd like to call them even like partnerships, are things that we look forward to and things that we would like to. So yeah, we're currently working we already have a few with the UN agencies as well as the Youth Envoy Office. And we're looking to have even more partnerships, hopefully, in the months to come.
Hopefully. The Ministry of Youth and Sports Affairs has a lot of programs in the past and has always implemented a lot of programs in the past for the youth, whether it was in media, whether it was in computers, or any kind of basic platform that the youth wanted to explore. How is this science center going to differ from all of the previous programs?
We've run many different programs, but the Science Center is going to focus mainly on the SDGs. And this is something that we want to do. And to be able to do that, we have put a lot of KPIs that we'd like to achieve, given the number of people who are going to participate, the number of youth that are going to participate, the stakeholders that we'd like to have, both on a regional level, on a global level. These are things that we're looking into. So it is going to be different because it's going to be very specific. Usually when we have programs, they're much more on a general level. We study the market, we understand what the youth want, and then kind of come up with programs that we feel that they'd be interested in. But this one in particular focuses mainly on the SDGs. And that's how it's going to set itself apart from many different centers and the programs that we ran or are running in the ministry.
Moving on to another project, Youth City 2030 is considered one of the most unique initiatives launched by the Ministry of Youth and Sports Affairs, which aims to provide the best means to foster the youth, empower them, redirect their energies in the right direction, and provide them the needed knowledge to build their leadership skills and characters.
Youth City 2030 is a summer program which is conducted by Ministry of Youth and Sport. The aim or the objective of this project is to promote and to build the capacity of the youth from 9 to 29 years old during the summer time. Basically, we are working in 5 main areas, which is leadership, art, science and technology. We had the sport and we have the media. In the past 8 years, we have these 5 categories, but in this year we have changed the idea to meet the expectation and to improve the programs and the way of delivering this activity.
This year it's completely different from how it used to run in the past. The programs, or let's say the entire program as a whole, runs more into or looks more into projects rather than programs. So all the sectors in the Youth City 2030 will focus on producing projects. So we have media projects, we have art projects, we have leadership projects and science projects.
Youth City is the one event that every young Bahraini waits every summer. And what makes this year different than any other year, and especially last year, is that instead of having centers and programs where children come and just have fun and learn, it's more of a training center where there's some consultancy, and it's more of a training camp than just a summer program.
Welcome back. Now, continuing on what we were talking about, after 9 years of launching the Youth City 2030 and knowing all of the outcomes of the previous youth cities, I mean, a lot of the youth have become grown-ups now and we're working. So how do you value the success and the contribution that it served generally and also specifically to the Sustainable Development Goals?
Well, generally, we're very proud of this project. This is its 9th year. We're moving on to our 10th year anniversary. So that in itself is something that we'd like to, that we hold very, dear to our hearts. Yeah. So having Youth City, this is definitely a project that the ministry looks up to, and what the success of it really is based on the youth. So today we're talking about, if it was just last year, we had 5,600 participations in the Youth City itself. We allowed for that number of kids to apply to Youth City. So like you had mentioned, it's a cycle. So once nine years ago, the kids that we had participating with us today are some of them are employees, some of them are completing their university degrees. So and then what they do is they complete their degrees and come back to Youth City to train other youth. So that in itself is a cycle, and this is a cycle of quality education, and that in itself serves the SDGs as well. So this is something that we'd like to do, and we'd like to have this kind of formation of a sustainable cycle, and of which we kind of pass on education, and to have our youth basically go through the Youth City and then come back to it as, whether they're volunteers, they'd come back as mentors or teachers or instructors, or even employees. Yes. So that is a circle that is we'd like to call a successful, sustainable circle, and hopefully we see it take its its full form, hopefully by the 10th year.
Yes, it's really important to mention that ever since the start of Youth City, the programs that have been given to the youth there, or basically have been the youth have been exposed to, are some of the sustainable development goals. There is empowerment of women, there is also clean energy and green energy. They also have a lot of contribution when it goes to cooperation and that kind of stuff. Can you tell us a bit more about the programs that will contribute to the Science Center in Bahrain?
Yes, absolutely. We have many different programs that not only stop at Youth City but continue on. So some of them that started in the summer are like, we have innovation, which is basically, or invention actually, which is basically a program where kids would be able to come up with or invent their own different products that serve the sustainable development goals. In addition to that, we've got filmmaking, of which they tackle issues like the SDGs. We have a lot of recycling projects and programs that they'd go into, and that would help in a sense raise awareness about recycling materials and even reusing them in everyday life. So whether they recycle some of the old wooden tables that they have and reuse them. So many of the projects and programs that we run at Youth City will continue on, hopefully, with the Science Center now. For the entire year.
Okay, perfect. Sheikh Amnira, we've gotten to the end of our show. Is there anything that you'd like to add now?
Well, I wanted to thank you for having me and just covering this issue, and hopefully we'd like to see you guys at the Science Center.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for being with us and answering our questions. And we would also like to thank you for watching, and see you next week in another episode of Inside Edition.